Supply chains encompass all stages involved in satisfying customer demand. Activities such as purchasing, manufacturing, and delivery directly impact supply chain customer service. There are also indirect activities such as sales, order processing, accounting, among many others, which are necessary to support quality customer service. Supply chains exist to serve customers, without which, of course, you would not be in business. The term chain implies a direct, sequential, link-to-link relationship between activities, which is seldom how it works. Relationships between various levels of multiple suppliers serving multiple customers can be highly complex. The terms network or web would better describe these relationships. Even the name, supply chain, falls short. Since it all starts with the customer, perhaps demand chain would be more appropriate, or value network, which emphasizes adding value by eliminating waste throughout all processes. However, the universally recognized supply chain caught on first, and so it shall remain. It is also important to note that in addition to goods and services, supply chains include the movement of information and funds. Flows in a supply chain: information, products, and funds are constantly moving back and forth throughout the supply chain. For information, this is good, as all entities need to be constantly kept aware of current conditions. For products and funds, however, we most often have a preferred direction. Products generally flow from suppliers to customers, usually shown as left to right, which is referred to as moving downstream. Conversely, we prefer funds flow the opposite direction, or upstream, as customers remit payment for the products and services they receive. There are exceptions. Sometimes material moves upstream, as in wooden remanufacturing, which refurbishes used products for resale. However, this is not so good when defective product is returned to a supplier, which may also require sending funds downstream back to the customer. Information is critical. It needs to be accurate, timely, complete, relevant, and accessible. This is not easy to accomplish and can result in major problems if not done correctly. I imagine we have all tracked the delivery status of an order we placed online, from the time we entered it until it is dropped off at our door. We have also likely experienced the frustration when something goes wrong and it doesn't arrive as promised. Or worse, what we get is not what we ordered. Product includes all goods and services we offer our customers. It ranges from raw material and component parts sold to manufacturers to finished products sold to consumers. And it could be defective product a customer is returning to the seller. Funds would primarily be payments customers remit to their suppliers. The objective of a supply chain. Do you agree we are in business to make money? At first glance, this may seem selfish or even greedy. However, it's not. An unprofitable company cannot exist for long. Profits are needed to pay employees, suppliers, and taxes, which enables you to continue serving your customers. Even not-for-profit organizations, whose purpose is generally to serve others, must have revenue greater than expenses. Otherwise, they could not continue to operate. Think of replacing the word profit with surplus. You could think of not-for-profit as a tax status, not a sustainable business model. And a question for you. In addition to making money for your company, are you concerned about your trading partners making a profit as well? If not, you should be. As the saying goes, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If any of your partners goes under, it could have a negative effect on your business. Transportation: moving inventory from point to point in a supply chain. Highly influenced by facility and customer locations. What methods and modes? Company-owned or common carriers? Trucks or trains? Boats or planes? Are there special requirements due to environmental concerns or safety requirements? There are a number of variables which must be considered in building your framework, such as supplier and customer locations, and labor skills and costs. Also note that choices in one driver may impact choices in others, and in the end, they must be able to work together without conflict. Cross-functional drivers moving along to cross-functional drivers. Information: Data and analysis regarding inventory, transportation, facilities, costs, pricing, and customers throughout the supply chain. How will we communicate internally and externally? Consider voice, email, B2B, EDI, barcode, RFID. Will there be issues with compatibility? Very important. How will control access and keep it secure? Sourcing functions a company performs and functions that are outsourced. Make or buy. If make, which facility? If buy, single or multiple source, local, domestic, or global. Pricing price associated with goods and services provided by a company to the supply chain. Price is impacted by many things: sourcing, supply and demand, urgency of need, transportation modes, distances, and the global political environment beyond the walls of our own organization. In the not-so-distant past, most companies focused on efficiencies within the walls of their own organizations. They either weren't paying attention to or felt they could do nothing about those outside of their organization. While it is great to strive to be the leanest, meanest, most efficient, high-quality producer in the world, your success will be constrained by the limits of your suppliers and to some degree by your customers. For example, let's say you are a highly agile proponent of lean practices, able to match production to demand, and requiring your suppliers to commit to daily deliveries of only what is needed for a day's production. Will they do it? Are they really a lean, just-in-time supplier? Or do they still produce a month's supply and simply dribble it out to you in daily doses? Despite your best efforts, if they still stockpiling inventory, the carrying cost is buried in their price to you. You and your customers have not been able to maximize overall value throughout the supply chain. More and more, lean practices are playing a significant role in supplier selection. Many major companies share training with their suppliers and customers. So, focus no longer just within the walls of the organization. The competitive playing field has shifted from company versus company to supply chain versus supply chain. A company's success may well be determined by the company's partners in the supply chain.